Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's doing great. This is take two at today's daily verse video. The first one I unfortunately recorded and then realized that the camera wasn't on the whole time. So this is take two. Hopefully this goes a little bit better. We're going to be talking about Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 and 27 today. And this is a verse that hits home to me in a little bit of a different way than some of the other verses that we've talked about. All of the verses that we've been talking about are verses that to me are very meaningful, things that are very helpful. Some of my very most favorite verses in the Bible. But most of those verses are verses that I acquired or that I picked up or found some point later in my life when I really started studying the Bible, when I really started appreciating the beauty and the grace of the teachings of the gospel. But today's verse is something that came to me, or that was sort of forced upon me when I was much younger. And I think that because of that, it has had a different but very big impact on my life. So I'm going to go ahead and read that. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 says, "In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold." You see, when I was a kid, I had quite a bad temper. Some of y'all who know me well know that I do still have a bit of a temper. It's something that I do my best to keep in check, but sometimes I don't always do the best job on that. But when I was young, it was quite a thing to behold. The temper tantrums were in full effect. And this was when I was, very young, but even continuing up through my teenage years, it was something that I still struggled with. And this verse was actually first introduced to me, or the first time I remember it, when I was in detention. I was, I think, in 4th grade, and I'd thrown some sort of temper tantrum in class. And instead of having me write some sort of regular note out multiple times, the teacher had me reading this and thinking about this verse. "In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, and so give the devil a foothold." And this verse, for whatever reason, at the time when I read it, really struck me. It really hit home to me. And I remember being there just feeling so ashamed, feeling so horrible about myself for my actions, for letting my anger get the better of me. And because of that, this verse stuck with me over the years. There were many times throughout the years when I would read this verse and continue to feel a sense of shame over my anger. And I think in a lot of ways, that helped me more than anything to change and to grow and to leave that anger in the past. And again, that's not to say that it's totally there or that I've totally overcome it. But the difference today, I think, is night and day. And what this has taught me, and what I think it continues to teach me today, is that there are times when we're going to be angry, right? We can look at even Jesus in the Bible, and he was angry, right? But it was this kind of righteous anger. So there's times where we're going to be angry. There's times where we're going to be frustrated. And that's okay. That's normal. But what we have control over is how we react to that anger, is what we do with that anger. Do we let that anger rule over us, or do we keep it under control? Do we use it in a healthy way? Do we use the coping mechanisms that we have at our disposal to overcome and deal with that anger? Or do we explode? Do we passive-aggressively treat everyone badly for the next 2 days because of that anger? Right? And really, those are the options. Do we use our anger well? Do we overcome that anger? Or are we controlled by that anger? Are we ruled by that anger? If you think back to the story of Jesus, he was angry. He was quite frustrated with these money changers in the temple. But he used that anger well. He took time. He went off. He braided the whip. And then he went and he did what he needed to do. It was a brash action. Brash isn't the right word. It was a bold action. But it was not brash, right? It was not something that he just did in the spur of the moment. It was something that he thought about. And we all have the choice to brashly act by letting anger rule over us, or to act like Jesus did, to be calm, to be wise about the way we let our anger affect us. The truth is, we all have coping mechanisms for our anger. Some of them are healthy, and some of them are not. And I think as we go into, or as we're, a good ways into this time of isolation and anxiety, a lot of people are going to be coming up against the wall with how they deal with their anger. A lot of our coping mechanisms are cut off to us. And it's at times like this that I think it's so important to remember this verse. Be angry. That's not something that you're going to be able to avoid. In fact, there are even things that you should be angry about. But don't sin. And more than anything, don't let that anger gain a foothold in your heart. Don't let it seep into your heart as you go to sleep, and keep it for day after day after day. Because if you do that, then you're letting the devil gain a foothold in your heart. And the more the devil gets a hold of our heart, the more of a foothold he gains, the harder it is to push him out. And the more of our lives that he's going to gain, the harder it's going to be for us to come back to Christ, to gain that peace that God desires from us. I know that in a lot of ways this is not an easy teaching to hear or to internalize. I know how difficult it is to overcome anger, especially in that moment. But it is so important. As Christians, we need to be people who are pursuers of peace and pursuers of love, not people who are filled with contention and anger and bitterness. And I know that right now, those are things that are running high in the world, that people are truly struggling with. I know it's not an easy message, but I hope it's one that is helpful. I hope it's one that is able to change our actions over the coming days. And know that it's one that comes from somebody who has genuinely struggled with this. Anyway, church, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy. Again, if anybody needs anything, please let me know. And also, if you have any verses that you'd like for me to talk about, please go ahead and leave them in the description. Talk about them on Facebook or on YouTube. I would love to hear about what the verses that are meaningful to you are. All right, everybody have a great day. Love y'all. Bye.